Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com. You can find cool stuff in stock every day, and check out our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory, prices, and delivery of cards for Magic Online. And finally, check out our new Alter Sleeves. Get your custom sleeve image of the Magic Mics crew at altersleeves.com/magicmics. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
How's it going?
Squeaky. Ruben Bressler.
Yeah, much like the squirrels in your altar sleeve.
My voice is not great this evening, let me tell you.
We had a little bit of consternation. It was a long walk to get to this intro.
Yeah, for those who are joining us live, we apologize. There were some technical problems and whatnot, and the pre-show banter was the pre-showing. Ruben, will you tell us though how we're going to kick it off here with our first pick in the giveaway,
so that Evan can
clear his throat?
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to kick it off with the first pick and the giveaway. Get your chance at a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com by typing !raffle into the chat. But subscribe first to get 2 chances to win instead of just 1. So if you subscribe and then enter, you get 2 chances. And don't forget our raid at the end of the show to support a member of the community. You can enter your suggestions in the chat now or in the end of the show. Go ahead and tag me if you want to see who we raid tonight.
Ruben, that was really good, and you look great tonight.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah,
I put in no effort.
That's the Ruben Bressler way. Everything just sort of works out.
It just kind of happens.
I literally rolled out of bed and started the pre-show.
He does. So, now, the first pick this week is the League Weekend Roundup. We had a professional league. This is the MPL. This is the Rivals. I'm not sure how many people did watch it, but I also know that there was nothing more sort of telling than MagicEsports tweeting out about round 3 before round 2 was finished on the stream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it just kind of, it just kind of felt like it hit a little too close to home on the problems that we're having with organized play, the fact that many players were unhappy. The players, apparently losing players can't turn off their streams. And then we get to, after some results are in, some players were facing a relegation. This is the interesting corporate speak word of you're fired. And so relegation, I guess relegation for some of the MPL, they go to Rivals, which is they're talking about Raphael Levy going to Rivals. And so there's this whole thread of saying like goodbye to all of these people. It almost comes off like obituaries.
Like in memoriam.
It felt very Hunger Games. Yeah. So the League Weekend was plagued by a number of issues. I mean, the thing for me, you mentioned the criticism about the spoilers in the tweet. That criticism came from Randy Buehler, who used to do coverage himself. And so when you have other coverage folks, particularly these icons of coverage that are calling you out and saying, what are you doing? Like you've just spoiled the match for everybody. Like that to me was very sobering. And then, just the feedback from the players themselves. There were so many depressing tweets of like, hey guys, remember when we used to root for each other? Hey guys, remember how much fun this used to be? That screen is blank.
I'm working on it, just saying.
Okay. And so just even the players themselves didn't seem like they wanted to be there. And so, when you have people who've done this job before that are critical of you, and the players themselves don't even want to be there. I mean, I think that's really telling as well. And then, to get through it all and realize that there are people's jobs on the line, essentially, and then to then have tweets put out that are essentially announcing you're firing, and not even using details about you, using just sort of the most basic facts about you. It doesn't seem like anybody really knew who these players were, which has been a problem with community management in the past. You'll remember the Brandon Burton incident where Brandon Burton famously tried to apply to the Content Creators Program, and the guy basically says, who are you? And this was another example of them not even really knowing who they're working with.
Yeah. It was very much like, will Sarah McLachlan get mad at me and DCMA take down our show if we put up a bunch of the goodbye tweets? They're like, today we say goodbye to Steve Jones, age 26, a human male, known for playing Magic cards, and with sleeves and a fan of mana. And it's like, that's a really generic thing, but also they just got a bunch of details wrong. The most famous example of which from last week was when Meebo, Allie Warfield, they were saying it's like popular Embercleave player Allie Warfield, and it's like I think she played it in a tournament. They just like went to MTG Top 8 and like clicked the link
they went through her Twitter feed. They said that they saw her tweeting about it, which they assumed to mean that she played it. Again, you don't even know the people on your own league, or you didn't do any research prior to this, just in case. Even newspapers will do research in advance of if they have to write an obituary. And so, and to be confused for another woman or another non-male player, that's been a problem for as long as we've been playing, is they just assume that we're all the same. And so not even knowing who she is, she also has a pretty good like record. Like she has a legacy. Why didn't we mention any of her top 8s or any of her wins? Why is it just the girl who tweeted about Embercleave a couple times? Like it was a disaster.
Yeah, being called out, and then they doubled down with it was not an incident of mixing up league members. It's like, okay,
well,
and they're like, this is better. This is an improvement essentially. And they're
the
like,
intent was not to list accomplishments, but to give a face and name. But you even if it's not about accomplishments, you still don't know who these people are on a very basic level. Like,
it hurt.
I want to also go back to the having to live stream getting fired. Like now, so as I mentioned in the tweet, because I'm very good at tweeting. This is our 6th anniversary of having a Magic Mike's Twitter account.
Right.
Imagine, if you will, that we started the show with Evan doing the intro, and Evan says, and our first pick this week, I'm firing Ruben and Aaron. Just in front of an audience, right? Like, literally, you two aren't cutting it. I'm getting Pleasant Kenobi and Olivia Gobert-Hicks in the studio for future episodes.
I'm going to get some of that new blood in here.
Yeah. You aren't cutting it. Oh, by the way, finish the show.
Yeah.
Right? Like, be on live stream. You are contractually mandated to be on live stream for the next 2 rounds after you're still eliminated. It's brutal.
God. And let's not even get to the fact that this weekend they're going to be playing the Strixhaven League weekend with Kaldheim standard decks. What is happening? Who is running this ship, and what in the world are they doing? Who is like left hand's not speaking to the right hand? This is a classic Wizard's Tale. God,
I don't know what's happening with this particular thing. Now, we've mentioned in the past, most recently last week, that Wizards doesn't care about the professional scene. This is a interesting way to self-sabotage the professional scene.
Sure.
So that it just kind of goes away naturally. Now, I'm not... That's a conspiracy theory thing. I'm not saying that that's what's happening at all. What you do when you're a big corporation, though, is you stop... You turn off the faucet. You don't give the money to the advertising that you don't think is working anymore.
Right.
And that's the professional scene, and whoever is actively working in the professional scene is going to get caught holding the bag and get blamed for all this stuff. And then they're going to be like, well, they're the ones that screwed it up. They're fired. Never mind the fact that it's corporate that is the one that wasn't, holding everything together.
Well, to be clear, I mean, if we're talking about the players, that's sort of that's how the system works in terms of rivals and leagues. I think that's...
It does, but so here's the thing, right? So if you listen to the pre-show, you know that I like Counter-Strike these days. And one of the things that Counter-Strike and why it works, why does esports work? Why does this even work in anything? Is teams. You need teams. If you don't focus on teams, it's going to fall apart every time. We've literally seen this happen. Now, we don't necessarily like to think of Magic as team-based play, which is kind of the issue at fault. Right. But until you get teams in there, you can't have team managers. You can't have somebody who buys a t-shirt for a certain team and it stays on very long because, with Wizards, their current setup and their previous setup, everyone was falling in and out. No one was qualified. It was just a big hot mess, and you couldn't just get on board with this being my team because it was never consistent.
Right, and it goes back to what we said before about Wizards being unable or unwilling to commit to fully being an esport. So I happened to look at a couple tweets that were going around when this, post-mortem happened, and just to see like what the industry standard was. Like, how does this normally work in esports for other games? And it's my understanding that there are some games where this does happen, where, if you don't meet a certain threshold or you don't do well enough, you do get released. But there are other games where the sponsor sponsors are able to keep these players afloat while they rebound or while they find other opportunities. And it seems like it's just we're doing an esports impression, but we're not truly an esport, because if that was the case, these people would have a little bit of cushion to where they wouldn't have to sit there and go, well, I guess I better hit the want ads to see what I'm doing after this. And we just don't have that. And that also ties into the next point, where Patrick Sullivan had posted this really amazing tweet talking about it's not enough to, just give non-male players and black players these opportunities. You have to also give them the support to help them beat the odds. Otherwise, you're basically just throwing in the deep end. And if this was a real esport, like you said, there would be managers, there would be media training, there would be things like that. But when they can't get on teams and they don't have the support to deal with the negativity online and things like that, like, you're just setting them up to fail.
Right. And I know that that's all sort of different. It's completely almost 360 from what we've done for so very long. But if what they're wanting to do is to 360 and lean into esports, the things that I've seen them do so successfully in a esport like Counter-Strike, things like, here's the thing. How about you have two personalities and they talk about their personalities? Like, what's my worst habit or whatever. Mm-hmm. They were doing these little tiny skits between the rounds in Counter-Strike, stuff you don't even see that Wizards could also be doing. Just little silly personality building things, little quiz trivia stuff.
But that would require them to get off the fence and fully land on the side of being an esport, and they're just not willing to do that. And they just don't want to do it.
And I see these low-hanging fruits all over the place. This is not like the end of the world. It's just pay attention to what the other people are doing correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the players aren't happy, right?
No, the players are miserable.
Even the players that are still in the Rivals League and were
right, because they got to have that weird, like, I feel bad my friends are gone, but man, at least it ain't me.
But isn't that also in their contracts? Like, wasn't there something that said, like, you couldn't disparage? Right, so they have to be very careful with what they say, which is weird.
Which is also strange.
So the competitors don't like it. Right. The viewers clearly don't like it. Nobody showed up for any of these Rivals weekends.
Like 6,000 viewers, maybe?
That's yesterday, whatever. It's like the main event, so who cares what those numbers were?
Right.
The league split weekends was literally tens of people watching, which is, like, I might as well just, like, get a job at Starbucks instead. Right? And the sponsors aren't going to be interested because the numbers don't bear it out. It's a miserable experience to watch, and it's not esports. The sponsors want an esport. So the players aren't happy, the sponsors aren't happy, the viewers aren't happy. Who's happy here? So you look at who this benefits, and it is putting an end. The only thing that I can see is that it puts an end to the professional scene so that they can put that money somewhere else.
Right. They can just say, look, everyone was happy, nothing was working, no one was showing up to watch, all the events were doing poorly, yada yada. It's like, because you keep engineering them to fail.
Exactly. The alternative, though, is just don't do that. Don't just literally carbon copy what works. Do those great little conversations like you said.
Yeah,
just do what you do for the Magic News show on Thursday mornings. But as an esports show, just do that. It's not hard. All you need is a couch and 2 microphones.
Right. I mean, stuff like, exhibition matches of cube between two of the players, right? Just little silly stuff that you can do that you can have fun with these players, have them, engage with the audience that isn't just, we're going to play Magic right now. Let's do something different. Talk to them. There's a thing where, for example, for Counter-Strike, they'll show someone like a classic play, like a really classic play somebody did. And they'll say, that's so-and-so from such and such event. Wouldn't it be cool to see like a Magic setup and be like, there was this play? Who was that? I mean,
there's a reason why people like Amazonian and Skybills had such a big moment when they got to play at that Mythic Championship was because they understood how to play to the camera. They understood, these catchphrases and attitude and personality. And, the names that we talked about that weekend weren't necessarily the big pros or the people that had the best records. It was the people who understood that this was an esport and they delivered on that.
Right.
I mean, for me, it's like, what are they doing right now? They're putting all the money into Patton Oswalt and, Dan Trejo. And more power to them. Have fun. That's great. But, they're going to say, well, look, this is succeeding because it's popular stars we like to hear from and it's funny and it's Magic. And your tournament crap, this pro stuff ain't doing nothing but costing us a whole bunch of money.
the commercials are great, but it also signals to me Sean Plott is the main character of those commercials. They understand that esports sells. Like, where is the disconnect?
Someone's not telling them like how these are not congruent. They're not fitting together, and you're seeing it right in front of our faces. What happens when they don't fit together, when it's not congruent, when you don't have structure set up, when you don't have like system set up where people get like fired online on Twitter, like in front of God and everybody. Like, it's weird. That's strange. You know, getting let go from a team, getting drafted into a team, that's different. That's a whole different process that doesn't have Wizards kind of embarrassing you over a long string of tweets over a weekend. That's weird.
Or live on stream.
Oof.
Yeah, and that's very awkward.
Okay, so let's move on here to Gather the Townsfolk. There was a new set that was released this past, today. Today, Strixhaven showed up on Arena and online, as I understand, Magic Online today, which is fantastic. I've had a little bit of time to play some of it. Ruben, you said you've gotten some drafts in.
A little bit, yeah, I got 3 drafts in.
I've been enjoying this set quite a bit. I'll be honest, even to this point, I'm liking it better than Kaldheim. I'm just going to say it. Yeah,
I think it's I mean, again, I have, 200 Kaldheim drafts under my belt. I have 3 Strixhaven drafts under my belt, so I don't have a ton of experience yet. So I'm still wet behind the ears with it. But it seems like a ton of fun, very variable, really interesting. The lessons and learn give it a very wishboard-like quality. Every deck has, 5 cards that have learn and 5 lessons in the sideboard, so every deck is effectively 28 cards. Very high level, and it seems like a ton of fun to play limited in.
Learn is such an unbelievably powerful mechanic. I can't... we were talking about this in pre-show. Think of Elvish Visionary. Elvish Visionary, tournament playable card for years and years and years. Super powerful. Green and generic mana, 1/1 draw card. That's what it does. That's good enough to see play. There's a black and generic mana spell that makes a 1/1 that when it dies, you gain a life, and you go get one of the best spells out of your sideboard. Whatever the best lesson you got, it's right there waiting on you. You're not drawing the land. You're not getting lucky and drawing the bomb. You're going to go find what you want at the time. That is ridiculous. Like, that is so much value. It is so much better. It's in every single color, which is fantastic. So it's just like card advantage all over the place. And it's amazing.
Every color is card advantage, even white, which is pretty spectacular. I will say one thing that I was not anticipating is there's way more of these Mystical Archive cards than I was expecting there to be. Every pack has a Mystical Archive card in it, on Arena at least. I don't know if that's the same for real life. And Mark Rosewater has the as fan theory, which is if you don't see it in a booster pack, it's not a set mechanic.
Right.
And so I guess they were like, we're going to put one of these in every pack, and a bunch of the Mystical Archives are like common. So, I guess that's fine. But I open up a pack and I'm like, ooh, weird border. Oh, it's like a Village Rites or something.
Well, here's the thing. The thing is that the Mystical Archive cards start at uncommon. They don't start at common. So you can't craft any Mystical Archive cards that are common because they all start at uncommon. Tinfoil hat time. Wizards makes a heck of a lot more money when you have to grind out the rares and the mythics when they're Brainstorm and Doomblade. So, but the big change to this was that there's going to be only a 7-card sideboard for best of 1 matches, and best of 3 can use all 15 cards. But that's going to be, again, just seeing day 1 of playing with Learn and Lesson.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Very powerful.
Very, very powerful. This is going to be a force in some constructed format in some fashion. And then I saw they put Regrowth in the Mystical Archive with the Storm deck in Historic. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? Already seeing some builds out there that are nuts.
Infinite mana, play Mind's Desire, Regrowth your Mind's Desire. Yeah, that's a good one.
It does kind of, to go on to the next little bit here, it does kind of crack me up that there's a whole mechanic that Commander players don't get any real use out of. Yes, you get to rummage, you can discard and draw, that's cool and all, but the whole mechanic doesn't work. It doesn't work in a Commander deck. Isn't that weird? Aren't they supposed to be designing for Commander? Yet this doesn't really work in Commander.
We get enough. Wizards have been pretty good to us. I can't complain. So we did just get 5 amazing Commander decks that people are really excited about, and I think it's fine.
Yeah,
and the Commander decks are doing fan-freaking-tastic. They're pre-selling for $200. They've never pre-sold for that high before.
It's crazy.
If you'd have got some a couple weeks ago, it'd be $130. But here we are.
It's how Magic pre-ordering.
And as noted, I wasn't super clear. Pharmacist Judge noted as the 7-card sideboard is only for constructed best of 1. For best of 3, you do get your whole sideboard, which is cool. But again, if it wasn't best of 1, it would just be like 15, of your best lessons, and you just go learn from them all the time. That's what you do. But yeah, just again, initial impressions, super fun set. I'm very excited about it. It doesn't feel like it's snow or good luck. Right. And that's what Kaldheim felt like. It's like, well, I hope you're super snowy because you're not going to get out otherwise.
And you also don't have to spend 10 of your picks on basic lands, which is nice.
True. Yeah, felt good when I had 9 or so. So there are going to be new Judge promos. These things look amazing.
Oh, I love them.
It's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be really tough to actually get them because you have to be a judge these days. Who's a judge these days?
Yeah, who's even a judge?
Right, and then you have to go to a online judge conference and then be able to get all your information in there, and so they can let you know. This Karlov of the Ghost Council is fantastic.
Karlov's also like a $30 card normally, so we'll take any reprint we can get, even if it is quite rare.
Right, and then we have our Grand Arbiter, Augustin the Fourth.
Yep.
That looks terrific. There's a link here.
Relatively popular commanders for...
I believe they also added some merch to the Judge Academy, some new t-shirts or judge shirts possibly, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I put the link in here for you guys to take a look at that and sort of what's necessary and what you need to do if you wanted to get these. But again, this to me is the Judge program has been not attacked, but it's definitely been like left to its own devices in many ways. And then the pandemic showed up and it got kind of worse. And now we're here. And so, like, I appreciate that Wizards is still putting time and effort in making these cards. And I hope that the Judge program can hang around just a little bit longer while we try to get to the other side of this.
I think it's still too early to tell. I mean, if I remember correctly, the Judge Academy really didn't become established until mid-2019 or so. And so 2020 happened. And so I think it's a little bit too early to call it or to say anything like that.
No, I'm dead or nothing, but like it's still like, it's still like hang in there.
Well, I wouldn't even say it's really hanging in there. I mean, it's still in its infancy. Like, it really hasn't had enough time to develop. And I'm anxious to see what happens. I think judges are still very necessary.
So, Aaron, tell us about this. This positive representation is important.
Yes, I was so excited to see this. So there was an article on Kotaku the other day called Black is Magic, How Magic the Gathering is Transforming One Teacher's Game Club. And this was about my friend Mike Lawton, who is from the Milwaukee area. He's Mike Wildspeaker on Twitter. And he has a gaming club for his students that is funded by donations or that he himself pays for. The school that he teaches at is predominantly people of color. So he has a lot of black students, a lot of brown students, a lot of Asian students. And they have an after-school game club where he gets them into Magic and D&D. And this post really just highlighted all the good work that he does, the impact on his students. He is very good about putting the attention on them, which is great as an ally. And it also ties into some of the efforts that Wizards is doing to, be more welcoming to people of color. You see examples here of Gottlieb and Teferi and Kaya and Sahili Rai. And it's just a really great article. And there's also many after-school programs I see that seem to be doing the same thing. And it just means a lot to see somebody being recognized. And I've even met some of his kids. I remember he brought one girl to the Throne of Eldraine pre-release who had never been to a pre-release before, and she was a really sweet kid, very good at the game. And this is an example. When people say, why does representation matter? You can point them to things like this, and you look at this classroom full of kids who, look up to Teferi and who look up to Kaya and just see the doors that can open for them.
Yeah, it was really sweet. A great article that, there's a lot of drama in the MTG, and there's a lot of complaining and people being upset and, things not right and things not okay. But sometimes it's just a good, positive, great thing to celebrate. Mm-hmm. And I'll take it.
Good job.
Yeah. The one last bit here before we move on to some desperate ravings. The MTG Content Creator Awards list, the nominee list, is now public. We have been fortunate enough to win one of these previously. I'm sending a link here to the Twitter.
We were Best Podcast in 2018.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did some really good shows.
And Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, we are nominated for Best YouTube Large Audience, I believe.
Okay.
I
cool.
think it was... We're nominated already. But
it's an honor just to be nominated.
It's an honor just to be nominated. If y'all spend your time voting for us, we'd obviously appreciate that, but no pressure.
No, and also, this is it made us feel really wonderful.
It did.
So, if you want to make an MTG Content Creators Day, then support them in a tangible way.
Well, that's true every day, too. It's like, people
too.
feel like you only have to compliment them if they say they're having a bad day on Twitter. But if you genuinely enjoyed someone's stream or you genuinely enjoy it, just tell them. Like, it really does mean that much.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's move on here. 2 desperate Ravings. Wizards of the Coast, ladies and gentlemen. Wizards of the Coast.
It was a weekend. So we had Friday, which was the LRR debacle, and then we had the league issues over the weekend, and then we transitioned into this, and it was just a week of nonsense.
So, look. So the early access program has been running for a while. The early access to access the set on the Wednesday before the release on Thursday. It's been going on for years now. We've been a part of it for years now. We've done this for many, many years now. So when the last one was kind of put together at the last minute, I mean, like, we got our information like the day before at night.
We didn't even have our names and our username. Like, normally it's like Magic Mike's 54321, and this one was just like VIP B62. Like, we were like cyborgs.
VIP Human 2279.
Yeah.
And so so that was a thing, but fine, whatever. Right? We rolled with it. We have our logins. We do our streams. We can get people happy and excited about the saddest thing we do. Okay, cool. So then Wizards, gave us a link to a Discord for different content creators and said, here's the content creator Discord. And the thing, there's one channel, you can't talk in it, you can't emote in it, but they'll leave you some information. Some of that information was, here's information about the Strixhaven early access thing. And we're like,
so the timeline goes like this, because I tweeted about this the other day. So Evan's right. So back in March, we all got invited to a Discord, which is called MTG Early Access. The Discord is exactly one channel. It's just an announcements channel. Yep. It has a frequently asked questions document about the content creator program. We do not have the authorization to post in it. All you can do is leave reactions, which will come into play later. And then that's all that we hear from Wizards until Monday. Yes. And the event was supposed to be in 2 days. And so at that point, people like Amazonian, Saffron Olive, Jim Davis, they start tweeting very publicly like, hey, this event is in 2 days. Can we please get some more information? Because for those who don't know, there's a lot of prep that goes into these events. Like, for us specifically, it's usually tech issues where, we need to know if we're getting 3 separate accounts or if we're getting 1 account, because that affects when we can build our decks. Some people do giveaways. I've seen some people cosplay. Like, we get into this sort of thing.
We also need to schedule. We need our overlays.
Yeah. And so 2 days before, people started tweeting at Wizards very publicly of, can you please give us some more information? And then we also noticed that somebody went into that announcement, that frequently asked questions document in the Discord, and scrubbed any mention of the Strixhaven Early Access event, which was there. There was mention of that before. That post had been edited, and then they also turned off the reactions, because once people realized that we weren't getting any information and that the early access event had been scrubbed, they started leaving poop emojis or laughing emojis. So the reactions were turned off too. So it's kind of like when someone breaks up with you, they haven't told you they're breaking up with you, but they changed the Netflix code. That's what it's starting to feel like here. And then at 10:30 at night, Central Standard Time, on a Monday, 2 days before the event, certain content creators got an email. Not everybody. Like, Kenobi didn't get one. I think Evan didn't get one right away.
Not right away.
Certain people got an email saying not only is the early access event canceled, but that the program entirely is gone. This is 2 days before the event. And so at 10:30 in the evening, this email goes out. And that's how we found out about it. And it was just terrible.
It's pretty wild.
This
was close to being our first pick this week. There was a bit of a debate during our pre-show about, is this the biggest thing that happened this week? And it was close. Because the early access streamer event is kind of the content creator highlight, and as far as I can tell, the highest amount of streamed Magic viewership at any one time. especially during a weekday.
I would certainly argue for it. Now, what I had mentioned, and people had, saw me post on Twitter, was that this was Wizards taking away a very high EV event for the dollar spent and throwing it in the trash. I understand it was a very stressful event for some, which to me says we should work on processes and management so that people don't feel like they're going to die when the thing's happening. And we also shouldn't, hinge it on one person. If something happens to their family, suddenly the event can't even happen at all, which is another whole problem.
And that was huge.
Yeah, right. And suddenly it's just like, well, baby out with the bathwater. And it's like, well, wait. Like, maybe this event goes poorly, but we can fix it for the next one for D&D or whatever. It's cool. But no, it's just gone forever.
It's gone forever, which is sad.
Right. And my argument was like, look, for every dollar they spend to have the community, manager take care of logins and interactions with, with streamers and whatnot, every dollar they spent for all the developers who needed to make a developer server and get those set up with the accounts and stuff, that they're getting tenfold eyeballs back from that investment. Yes, it's preaching to the choir. You're not talking to people who don't play Magic, but you are getting the entire community who cares about Magic at all in the big streams, the little streams, the people in the middle.
Casuals, competitive.
And what Seth was saying, it's like it's the only digital event where we all came together and just celebrated how Magic is awesome on Twitch. We just don't have anything else like that. We just don't.
Yeah.
And they just destroyed it.
It was just incredibly unprofessional too. Like, if they had just told us, "Hey, it's not happening," that's fine. But to find out, at bedtime on a Monday evening, and then to tell, and then to remove any mentions of it, like just to handle it the way that they did is just really awful. And like I said, there were people that were very invested in these events. There were people that it's my understanding that they also used these events as a gateway to get more gems or more cards. So there were people that were like, well, if I'm not doing these events, how am I going to be able to afford these cards that I'm now expected to come up with for later streams? Or, people that were really basing their viewers or their revenue on this. People like, hey, I get a lot of bits at this time, or I get a lot of whatever. And they're now like, I don't have that revenue.
I can tell you right now that Jim Davis does his 10 new brews. That's like his thing. Every early access, he would do his 10 new brews.
Poor Yeoman. And then Yeoman 5 is the guy that we all go to for our deck list. Every set that comes out, he creates at least 50 deck lists between historic and standard. And he works so hard on those decks. And I'm sure people are still using them because they're brilliant. But like, he also gets a lot of his buzz by people like us who yank his decks, use them, love them, tweet about them. The last time I used some of his decks, I threw him something on PayPal for his time. The deck, but the world revolves around the deck builders, man. I don't build decks.
No, and it's fine. I'm just saying that, like, I can tell you, like, knowing that the content that we post on CoolStuffing.com, the 4 biggest, not even close articles that he posts every year are his 10 decks that he does during the early access stream. So that's just, that impacts a lot. The fact that I spent time and effort making promotions and stuff. Look, I'm a big boy. I can take it, but don't pull the rug out 2 days before the event.
We deserved better.
The timing was bad.
We deserved better than having mentions of it scrubbed, our reactions turned off, a channel we can't even talk in, and then only after we pressure you do you admit that you've broken up with us. Like, it was just handled very, very poorly.
Yeah. Surely, well, first of all, I am loath to blame the content manager who received essentially death threats, right? Essentially hate mail over Twitter. I am loath to lay this all at his feet.
And I don't want it to, and there's certainly not any one individual. I'm not even saying names because I don't want it to be about names. We talk about Wizards as a monolithic tower of does things good and bad. So this is done poorly. This was super unprofessional on one level and just disrespectful. Honestly, it's fine. Just don't wait till the end of the day and stop it. It's crazy.
It does feel like we are back in a weird spot. We were in a weird spot last summer. August-ish, I want to say, where it felt like no one had their hands on the wheel, right? Do you remember this? Where it was like, what is happening? No one feels like they're in charge of anything.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like this week. Again, like, the MPL weekend was just a complete cluster. This is obviously just, Butterfingers. I can't hold on to all of these content creators. Like, it was just such a weird weekend for everything. Or weird week for everything. It felt like everything went off the rails in some way. And we're not even done. There's like weird stuff happening with Magic Online where like
Arena too.
A full 1% of the cards just don't work.
Yeah, so there was I guess Arena's having issues with direct challenges, Evan said in the pre-show. Magic Online had a string of bugs that basically rendered Vintage unplayable, where Lavinia was just countering everything, no matter how many lands you had. Dredge players, whenever we would dredge cards, they would appear in the graveyard face down, and neither one of us could look at them. So Magic Online's having a rough week. Arena's having a rough week in terms of like technical issues, on top of the last 4 days of other nightmares.
And then we had some art leaks.
The
dual
casual 2
promo.
secret layers in there.
Yeah, we're getting there. So
it's just like no one has control. This is like a careening
runaway
train.
And this might be, and we talked about this a little bit in the pre-show, this might be acceptable from like a mom and pop business. But again, this is a case of Wizards straddling the line of, they get on these conference calls and they brag about all the money they're making and how they're one of the big boys now. And yet on an operational level, it's just the inmates have taken over the asylum, and it's just like, you can't have it both ways. Like, if you're going to choose how successful you are and how well oiled you are, that has to be at every level, and they just are still run like a bunch of nerds who don't understand how business works.
Before we move on to the next thing,
sure,
I want to point out this LLR.
Yes. We mentioned the hate that Wizards was getting for various things, and here comes Loading Ready Run. Some of like the most awesome,
the most beautiful thing,
wonderful
I've ever seen,
most hardworking people too.
These guys bust their butts. They're terrific people. Seriously, they're wonderful humans who do nothing but good, honest work to bring entertainment. And these people are like, you're doing it for the views, leaking this Commander deck throughout the day, throughout the pre-release stream, which we should be excited about watching to start with. Like,
I can't.
What is wrong with y'all?
If you're under the age of 16, please close your ears right now.
Profanity.
If you did this,
Ruben, it's a family show.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
God.
I need to just. I need to. You're going to hear about my grievances. Is what's going to happen. Loading Ready Run works harder for a better product than basically any person any production house on the planet. Period. Not limited to Magic the Gathering. The group of 15 to 25 people up there in Victoria, British Columbia, that put this stuff together with their blood, sweat, and tears and nerdiness, they are so passionate and so good at what they do. They're actively funny. And you are going to come at them for not spoiling a Commander product to your liking.
Fussy.
God, Ruben,
I'm sorry. It
one
makes me
time,
very mad.
2 times. All right, okay. Well, don't do that. That's bad. Okay?
Those are my F-bombs for the year, but I had to use them.
Lordy. All
I'm
right.
sorry.
Well, let's move on
Makes
here.
me very mad.
I see that. I was not happy about it in any way. Be clear, but
I just thought it was ludicrous. Like, I just
be
kind of sat
better.
back and watched it. And I was like,
it's
what on earth?
2021.
And petty.
Do we really?
Calm down.
Come on. All right. Not splash damage here. We'll move on here to some more Desperate Ravens. See, now, there's a Shockland leak on Magic Online. Here's a funny thing. Also note that it's that every single one of these Shocklands has flavor text except Godless Shrine, which is weird to me. But we have all new images of Hallowed Fountain and Watery Grave and the whole bit. Some really cool flavor text like Blood Crypt, vampires invited to a soiree at Markov Manor are expected to bring a guest or refreshments. Or both.
That's cool.
That's a fantastic thing, right? So
That's a really
all these
funny,
different planes, right? You can celebrate in all different ways. Karametra's showing up on Temple Garden, which is awesome. So this looks like clearly they're doing some sort of weird secret lair thing, and oops, like we're full of mistakes these days.
Is that Marchesa on an overgrown tomb? That's like 2 of my interests.
Oh, yeah.
On the same card. Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah, Queen Marchesa. So Brigo's tomb was first erected as a formality, and now it stands as the last memorial to a forgotten fool. Wow.
Wow. I'm going to need that in my life.
Each of the 10 lands, I mean, the 9 flavor texts all refer to different planes of existence, and then, of course, the Godless Shrine is on Amonkhet. So it's a very cool combination of things here.
Yeah, put these into the ground.
Yeah, these are cool. So we don't know what is going on with these. Like, I don't know. Are they a promotion? Are they another secret layer? Are they going to do another secret layer thing to the store or whatever? Maybe. We'll see. Who knows? But that's a thing that kind of leaked out, and I guess we'll see. Now, not only that, we seem to have some more that showed up for some sort of fractured identity. Apparently, is now going to be available in foil. It appears.
Everybody loves the fractured identity.
Yeah, look at all these Mystical Archive cards. Clearly, these are Mystical Archive cards, but they're not in the Mystical Archive.
Thrown in the lock. Oh, look at that All Is Dust. Oh my god.
Yeah, I would.
That All Is Dust is gorgeous.
I would love to have all of these in Arena, please. That would be terrific. So
that fracturing gust. Oh.
Where these came from, we don't know. Why they're in the client, we're not sure, but they look cool.
Man, God bless the data miners or whoever found this.
That's
Tell
right.
you what.
Blessed are the data miners.
Right. We went from blessed are the deck builders to blessed are the data miners. It just changes.
I will take it. So, moving on here to Going Infinite. There was some discussions. There was a article here from Bryan Gottlieb that talked about 5 things that organized play must fix ASAP. The idea that, and again, this is sort of a theme of the show. We're talking about how the organized play's kind of been a mess and how they want to fix it and whatnot. There's no spectator mode. Because there's no spectator mode, there's no easy way to show you the action that's happening. You have connections that are super bad, so everything's pixelated. You can't even tell what's going on. That wouldn't happen with a spectator mode, stuff like that. And I'm trying to bring up the article. It's not coming up.
I know. It's taken a while for me to load, too. But I remember reading it before. I think Star City's site is down, LOL. But it is a fabulous article. It's like so far article of the year from me, because Bryan Gottlieb, at Bryan Go on Twitter, you should follow. Very smart, very in-depth analysis, and sort of like piece by piece, brick by brick, how the building blocks of Magic the Gathering organized play were taken apart, even before the C word that is why we all stay inside, that we don't say on the show, occurred. You know, the last 3 years or so of organized play.
Yeah. So, so here we go. So the first tip, for example, being fixing Magic Arena, which is there's issues that as we speak right now, the direct challenge best of 3 apparently doesn't even work as of recording time, which is a thing. The fact that the fact that, again, and we discussed that from the moment of you're not going to support a spectator mode, how all of it falls thereafter and how all of it falls apart thereafter. Timing is everything, which is you screwed up your Strixhaven weekend with Kaldheim Standard. Allow events to tell a meaningful story. This is where I personally would talk a lot about teams and how you can follow teams. Where does Arne Huschenbeth stand heading into next year's events? Beats the hell out of me.
You can say Arnie Huschenbeth, but you cannot say T.S. Salowick.
I can't.
Make it make sense.
I can't do it. Restore commonality. That's fun. Basically, the competitive Magic community was founded on a bunch of people pursuing dreams and goals that often make no sense to those outside of our sphere. We spend too much money chasing too little money and often hated ourselves for doing it. We found sanity in the fact that we understood each other. And everyone from PVDDR to me was showing up in the same places with the same goals. And we need that commonality. There's definitely the us and them, and you ain't them. Like that's not where you belong in the upper echelon. And then give us a sign, which is, and who wants that job? Who wants the OP job?
That's the other thing is you're getting out there. We keep talking about this job is so hard. It's basically impossible. You're holding everything. Whoever is doing it now is holding things together with both hands with no support from up top.
Right, and they're not able to spend money on development stuff. They're not able to spend money on changing the program. They're not.
And they're going to get left holding the bag. Is what's going to happen.
And they're going to get blamed. And that's the OP. The last OP guy who was even named, the bear guy, was he left at one point. And I understand it's a very stressful environment, no doubt about it. And who wants to be the face the shooting squad or whatever every day? If you're like the firing squad saying, "Well, it's your fault that all this is bad." Hate.
It's absolutely brutal.
And it's brutal. So, how they manage that, honestly, just feels like they've just turned off the channel more and more and more. It's like, if this is the small, tiny sliver of percentage of Magic players who care about this organized play program, and you have 20 million people on the outside of that, pay attention to the 20 million. Make products for the 20 million. And the organized play people will figure it out. It makes sense from a money
perspective. If you look at it entirely as going up to Chris Cox and saying, "Hey, Chris, can we have some money, please?" And they were like, "For what?" And they were like, "For the 0.01% of Magic the Gathering people that watch Twitch." And he said, "Ha ha ha! No, we're going to do the other thing. Enough
to make us money.
What's going to make us the most money?"
Right.
It's very easy when you look at it from that perspective. It's sad,
right?
But
yeah, I mean, and again, it's the someone said we're spending $1 million something here. What are we getting out of that? Can you show me? Can you tell me? Can you show me the metrics? And Lord knows, whatever metrics they were looking at have only gone down.
Yeah, but you're gonna get those
because of the way they set it up.
Try it. Like, you're set up to fail, so you failed.
Right. You set up that one event that you bought all the viewership for, and then you did the second event that you still bought the viewership for, and then at that point you're like, okay, we're good to like let the third event happen, and smash, like blow up all over the airstrip, and we just went from there.
Did you see that Twitch deleted like 7 million bot accounts recently?
Jeez. That's a lot.
So yeah, a lot of those pay for play stream services are gone.
Good.
A lot. Not all, but many.
Well, either way. So there was a survey sent. This was about a week ago or so.
Oh, yeah. You all were really upset about this.
Well, this was something that I discussed here on the show before, where I discussed that turning the secret Lair service into a subscription service, where you're paying a certain amount every month and you're getting the next secret Lair that comes out. And Wizards is basically asking you a few questions. One, would you be okay with that type of service? And if you did, would you buy the foil one or the non-foil one? How many would you buy? Stuff like that. And the other half of it is something they do generally in professional sports teams, which is you get to buy the ability to buy something. Right. If you want a seat, a season pass or season tickets, ticket, you have to get in the pool of possibles, and in order to get in that pool, you have to like sponsor or license or whatever they want to call it. You give us a fee in order to get in the door. And this was, if you pay us X dollars, you can now buy 4 secret Lairs that nobody else except the people in this club can buy. You don't know if you even like them. You may hate them for all you know, but the only way you're going to get them is through this program. And so on Twitter, I was like, if you're going to go max villain, I'm talking, mustache twirling, we're going to make them hurt as much as possible. But the way they do that is they open up this certificate program, license program, whatever, and then they close it. And then they unveil the sickest secret Lair of all time. Like, 5 fetch lands, full art, foil for $50. And they don't open registration again until after the secret Lair sale is over. So they make you hurt the most for not being a part of the program. And the reason part of me, was like, don't give Hasbro ideas. I'm like, absolutely I want to give them idea and tell them it's absolutely horrible. So God forbid if they ever do it, I'll be able to say, look, how could you possibly not have been shown this idea and thought it was a good idea to go sort of abuse the whale market as much as possible? That's what I don't want to happen. This whole thing just reeks of they need more profit margin. They're asking for more dollars. I understand they're a company that makes collectibles, but holy cow, they're going really far. It worries me.
It's
a lot. Let's see here. All right. So unless you guys have anything else to discuss, that's about it. Move on here and turn the corner to the finisher. Today is the Ides of April, which means it's tax day here in the good old US of A. The day has come where we put up our tax stockings and put tax presents under the tax tree. So tell me, how are you celebrating this auspicious occasion, Aaron?
All right. Well, as a plan termination consultant, today is one of my holiest of high holidays. The way I like to describe it is I'm basically a smothering abomination, except it's your retirement plan that's getting smothered. So I'm celebrating the way I always do by having a nice glass of wine and processing claims.
Processing.
As you do when you're in Eldrazi.
That's right. Ruben?
Well, tax day is a miserable day, in my experience. Between podcasting, various shows, VOs, and all manner of, pickup gigs in between, my taxes look like a Pepe Sylvia yarn board. So I'm celebrating by putting my best effort forward and hoping that the gods of income don't smite me down for my transaction transgressions.
Oh boy, good luck, good luck. Well, look, in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. So as is tradition, I am turning in my forms with #5dependents.
Perfect. Do you still technically have 5 dependents?
Right, can you claim the one that you threw out?
Right.
Wow, first of all, Seriously. Second of all, no, because she's 18 now.
Okay.
She lives on
So that's why you threw
forward dependence.
It all makes sense.
We won't get into the fact that she filed her taxes incorrectly and that messed me up, but whatever. That's a whole other stuff. That's another pre-show right there. That's a pre-show chit-chat. And that ends another live episode of Magic Mike's. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you soon.
That's right. We want here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com, and our newest sponsor, Alter Sleeves. Get yours at altersleeves.com/MagicMikes. My co-hosts, Aaron and Kamala, Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/MagicMikes. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.